Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Merlin Show. It is your Tuesday afternoon edition. Yes, Tuesday. We had a shortened week. I hope you all did something enjoyable yesterday and made you, I guess, optimistic about your freedoms that you have and just the incalculable luck we have to be on this spinning rock through space. So hopefully it was a good weekend for you. Back's getting a little bit better. Thank you guys that have sent in comments over the weekend. We're a little bit better. We're probably about 60-70% back to normal. So I still got a ways to go, but we'll get there. And Steven says, you hiking the Pacific Crest Trail for a month? Man, that has got to be a good story there. Hope you had a good time. Welcome back to the show. Not much has changed here. We're still doing the same old thing, talking about markets and just what's going on in the news, give you my perspective of things and map out trades as I see them. I did put some covered calls on my positions from last week, which we'll share with you as well. All right, let's go into the topic du jour. I put financial markets, the road ahead. And the reason I decided to do the show is 2 Trading Academy students reached out to me and said, hey, Merlin, I'm confused. These markets are crazy. What do you think is going to happen over the next 6 months? And look, I don't know. Here's what I know is going to happen. Unpredictable stuff is going to happen for the next few months. But if we look at the patterns, again, throughout historically, there are some things we can glean from this. So let's start with the high-level stuff of what's moving our markets today, and then I'll kind of tie that together as to where I think we'll be in 6 months from now. The big story of the day was EU tariffs. Now, as we know, last week, President Trump saying, I'm 50% tariff on European Union products. You know, he's all upset and created a big stink on Friday, and of course, everyone's like, oh, great, here we go. And as I said on Friday, my guess is maybe by Monday we'll get some backpedaling here, and this is the normal, right? It's shock and awe. So it was 50% tariffs going into effect June 1st, which would be what, Monday? Let's see, let me get my dates here. So that would actually be Sunday night that we would start to have 50% tariffs on EU. Well, after a call this weekend, that was pushed to, I believe, July 9th, 8th or 9th, something like that. It's like, right around there. I can't remember the exact date, but that pushes it another month, which gives us a little bit more time. And of course, going back to Trump's kind of agenda, yeah, like Margaret says, it's how he gets people to negotiate. He slams them with something really big and like scary, and then, okay, well, let's talk then. If you don't like it, let's talk, and then they'll work down some agreement. So all in all, I think our markets rejoiced over that today. So I'll start with our broad market indexes. I'll just go through the top ones here. Even going into the open today, we already had a gap up for the S&P 500. We were up about a little over 1% last night when the markets opened on Sunday, so it was not too shabby. Now, at the end of the day, phenomenal gaining day. All right, we were at 2.13%, but notice we still haven't gotten above that 6,000 line, so that is certainly something I'll be keeping an eye on as we go forward. Right now we're at 59.41 on the S&P futures, 2.14% gain, but 59 points away from hitting that 6,000 mark from current levels. Great day. Russell 2000 was, well, let's do the NASDAQ, because NASDAQ is in a similar situation. I've got that zone mapped out, and that peak there goes back to May 19th, so just a week ago, no big deal. But that high is 21,562 and a quarter. That's what that yellow box is at. Well, right now we're just about there. We're at 21,488 and a half. So that could easily get reached tomorrow. Heck, maybe even by the time markets open up tomorrow, we could be there and see how that breaks above it. But I'm expecting there to be some selling pressure as we get closer to it, just like on the S&P. Now the Russell, and we'll break down the NASDAQ in a second, but Russell was your big one. 2.62%. Notice it also is coming into this overhead supply level, which is not great. It's already been tested multiple times, but still right around that 2100 level for a Russell is where I expect there to be a little difficulty here for price to get above. So while I'm bullish so far, I do think you'll see some hesitation as we get in there, which could be tomorrow. Big Kev says now you would have figured out that the markets would have figured this out by now. I think they have. I think, when the markets have this shock news, this, oh no, we're going to tariff this country X percentage, and it's just such stunning stuff. I think the sell-offs are actually kind of muted compared to what they were back in early 2016, right? He did the same thing in 2016, 17, 18, where it was this tariff war, and we were talking about tariffs, and oh, well, we're going to do something with China, and oh no, we backpedaled by Monday. It seemed to be like I've said many times, like a episode of The Apprentice, where right before they go to a commercial break, they say something that's so appalling, so like shock to you that you can't leave. You got to stay there through the commercial break, and you got to know what happens. What's the conclusion? That seems to be the norm. So it's starting to, at least for me anyway, when we get these shock announcements of 50% tariffs here or 75% tariffs there, it leads me to believe that I need to be looking more at buying opportunities. Now, it could continue to go lower. So therefore, I'm going to be focusing on demand zones that are lower and making my plays at those demand zones. And the reality is that initial shock number, whatever percentage it might be, is probably not going to be hit or achieved. It'll be something much less than that. That's the norm. So yeah, Big Eb, I think people have priced it in because I don't think that the sell-off on Friday was that dramatic. I mean, we can look at the S&P here. You had a small little red candle. I mean, if you're dropping 50% tariffs on one of your major trade partners, you would think that candle would look like this one back here from April 4th, right? A real big significant decline. That's when we initially said reciprocal tariffs, which have not been implemented. And now all of a sudden we are stair-stepping up. So it leads me to believe that we'll probably see more upside momentum here. And it's simply because people are becoming numb to it, right? It's like, okay, what did he say today? He said something really crazy and the markets would normally freak out. Let him sell off a little bit. And then you got to look at what that bigger term trend is, which is why I love the two questions that came in about where are we headed? What does this look like? Well, if we continue to do what has been happening since January 20th, which is shock and awe, we get these drops off the shock and then the rally off the settlement or conclusion of that. And in this case, we haven't even had conclusions over reciprocal tariffs at all. We've put that on pause for 90 days. I think once, again, I've mentioned this before, once we get resolution and everyone to come to the table and say, okay, we're good, then what do you got to focus on? It seems to me like that would be very optimistic. So I, for one, for the two, I can't remember your names, sorry. I just saw the comments come through. Those of you who asked me what the next 6 months is, I have to, just based off what's going on right now, I have to be bullish. I got to look for bullish. I have a feeling that if this does continue, we will continue to get these shock and awe points where it'll drop us a little bit, but then we'll break through and rally to new highs based off that. And we're not that far off from an all-time high. And we're currently at 59.34. All-time high is 61.66. All right, so we've got, call it 200 points before we're at an all-time high, 230. So easily achievable. I mean, we're up 117 points today. Oh, sorry, hold on. That's more than, Yeah, so 200 points. Today we're up 117 points. Another 200, we will be at all-time high. It seems to me like that's where we're headed. And this does fly in the face of sell in May and go away, right? We know that mantra. Well, statistically, if you read Stock Trader's Almanac, it's not May 1st. It's the last week of May where you should sell in May and go away. Now, if we line that up with where we're at right now, I'll put a vertical line on the theoretical sell in May and go away. This is the last week right here. So we're in the last week. That means that based off those numbers and our short week here, from here on out, we should start to see a flat to down market. I don't think that's going to happen. I just feel that we've turned the corner on a lot of this negativity here, and it feels to me like we're going to be moving up. All right, what does Steven say? July, August, September tend to be more bearish than bullish. Yep, that's why I put some protective puts on. Yeah, it's just protective puts is a smart move, I think, because you just never know. But based off the patterns, not just of the market, but also of the president, it just seems to me like we're going to continue to have this stair step up now. The initial shock factor here from early April, we're all but done and gone with that. I mean, even the EU is back to pre-tariff war heights. So it just seems to be positive, moving to the upside. I have this little piece mapped out here because this is typically, I believe, that doldrums of the markets that you mentioned, right? July, August, September tend to be rather flat. Yeah, they historically don't have the greatest return. It's still positive, but doesn't look absolutely fantastic. I agree with you, Steven. He says charts look bullish, but protection is the name of the game. Absolutely. Absolutely, I agree with you. You certainly want to protect your profits and make sure you don't give anything back. And if you do give back some, make it a little bit, right? So if you're up, let's say you're up on the year 10%, well, maybe you risk a little bit, but you make sure that you're not going to give back more than 2% of that, right? It's about keeping what you have and not letting your biases or opinions rule your trade. So, for example, my big challenge for me right now is I'm bullish on these markets just because the pattern's in shape, but I also have to be ready if we start to break some new lows and I get triggers for sell-off or downside movement. So certainly protection is absolutely a big part of this game. All right, let me break down that NASDAQ a little bit further because there was some talk today about Magnificent Seven stocks. Of course, Tesla shining like crazy. Elon Musk saying, I'm going to return to work and focus on XAI, and Tesla, and make that and SpaceX, and make those my main priority. That guy's crazy busy. Today you saw a 6.94% jump up in Tesla's shares, and that's right into an overhead supply zone that we've got had mapped out here for a while. Between 354 and 367, we are right now at 363 in the after-hour session. So I'm curious to see what this does tomorrow. Remember, we have the broad market indexes, the S&P, NASDAQ, and Russell, all nearing or in supply zones, and this one is right in dead smack in it. I mean, actually kind of near the higher end of that supply zone. Yeah, Magnificent Seven all up. It's great. NVIDIA, 3.2%. Some interesting comments from NVIDIA about Tesla, and we saw that, but Jensen Huang just raving about Tesla. Of course, Tesla's a big buyer of his chips and will continue to do so, but talking about how Tesla is the absolute king in the AI and the driverless car market, thought that was a pretty good one as well, where you have these two good old boys, not good old boys, but two big prominent CEOs, and kind of patting each other on the back and boosting their image with each other. That's going to help. Google, which is the one I'm shying away from. I'm still staying away from Google. I think that they're going to have a lot of increased competition, especially as people start to use AI more. I've noticed significant changes in the last 3 weeks with how I search for stuff. Give you an idea. I wanted to start eating healthier, at least breakfast, right? So I could go out here to Google and say, what's a healthy breakfast alternative, or what can I do for breakfast and be healthy, and I could search through 35,000 different professional nutritionalists to see what they say. Instead, I went back and I went to Grok and I said, give me some breakfast ideas, some out of a meal prep and I gave my statistics, and here's how much I weigh, here's what I want to get to, here's my exercise routine. And one of the first things that popped out was these egg bites. So I looked at that recipe, I said, that's great, show me the directions for it and everything it entails. If you want to know, the egg bites are 8 eggs plus 4 egg whites, 1 cup of bell peppers, 1 cup of onions, a cup of very finely chopped spinach. You throw them in muffin tins, distribute it all evenly in muffin tins, salt with salt and pepper, season to taste, garlic powder, etc., and you're done. I didn't have to shop around. I didn't want to go through 35 different websites. So I'm kind of using Grok as like my personal assistant now. Grok and ChatGPT, but Grok is more, it's easier because I use X for posts and stuff. So, yeah, I have a feeling that over the next year I will probably stop using Google unless I'm looking for something very specific with visuals and pictures. But over the next 6 months, I also think that you're going to see XAI and ChatGPT start to do all visuals and pictures as well. Egg bites sound good. Add some shiitake mushrooms. You know what? I was going to do that. The nutritional benefit from bell peppers and spinach is better than from mushrooms. And that's what I'm trying to go for, like the most packed nutrition. I was going to put broccoli in, but that just tastes weird with eggs, so I decided against that. Protein with fiber in the morning, great meal for breakfast. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's just part of it. But, Grok and OpenAI will give you a definitive answer on something. Whereas if I type it into Google, you guys all know I have to scroll. Oh, this one looks interesting, and I just have to see ads and all that stuff. So much better with the egg bites, which I just had 2 of them, by the way. They're delicious. All right, back to our Magnificent Seven here. Apple, 2.5% today, but technically, I don't see anything here that's that noteworthy with Apple, right? We had that double top formation right around 212, call it 213, but we're kind of chopping sideways, not really doing anything here. What's that? Malcolm said, I find myself using ChatGPT for search engine now as well. I don't want a really stupid magazine. Exactly. Yeah. It's, what kind of eggs? White eggs. Cage free. There we go. Cage free. Who knows what that means, but I got cage free. Oh, Sava, I'll get to that here in just a sec. Yep, absolutely. Amazon. So I was looking at Amazon today. I was really hoping I could sell some puts at that 190 level. I talked about this last Friday's show. I watched Amazon. I thought we'd close this gap, and I was really looking forward to buying on the closure of this gap. But today, of course, everything gapped up, so I did not sell puts on Amazon, although I'd like to be a buyer at 190, but another great day for them, up 2.5%. Meta also showing nice gains. This is in my opinion, a bullish flag formation. So if you look right here, we'll bring that up to that high point there, and then if you draw a channel across this, at least connecting those low points, or sorry, most points of contact, which would be right about there. Let's create an offset for that one. And let's see, clone. So there you have a bullish flag formation for Meta. Really, it's all about that big impulse move and then the kind of the slow stepping down here. So not too bad. We are not out of it yet. But if Meta can break this one, that does forecast a very significant price increase for Meta, which will probably bring it back to all-time highs and then some. And then Microsoft, the weakest performer of a Magnificent Seven. But what do we notice about Microsoft? It's broken above that 456 mark and closed above it. That's an important one. Right now it's at 460 even. So this is the highest close it's had since July of last year, which is very important. And as you know, that's its all-time high. So I'm going to put a line right across the all-time highs here, at least close enough, right around 468. Let's get the exact number on there so I know that off permanently in my head. I'll go right to that high point there. All right, so that's not even it, is it? The tough part with snapping these lines sometimes it's really hard to get the exact point you want. There we go. 468.35 is your all-time high for Microsoft. We're $8 away from that. It was already up $10.50 today, so another 2% gain, and we'll be at all-time highs here for Microsoft going forward. So looking pretty optimistic there. Even Adam, when you see Even Adam, I thought that was an adult website. That's Adam and Eve, something like that. Steven says, love Amazon, have to own it. I agree. That's why I wanted to sell some on it, but I don't want to chase things. I'm much more of I'll be patient and get it at the price that I want it than rush. And I should have, of course, we all know the three words that don't mean anything in financial markets, shoulda, coulda, woulda. I should have sold some last week at the 190, but I just didn't get there. Unfortunately, didn't quite get there. Lisa would love to see it break the prior high because you're holding long positions, I would assume. Wait for bullish or bearish signal before going with the flow. Well, it's difficult to say right now. I guess it's really up to each individual person on where they decide to go. So, for example, let's go back to that bullish flag formation. You really have multiple places where you could look at this. If your question was about Meta, you've got when it breaks the most recent high, which is going to be 662, right? That's that peak that we saw here on May 14th. That's in my opinion, the last time that you should be buying into this one because now it's changed. You could also look for it coming back down towards these lows of this channel, right? They use that channel line, or of a break, which would probably be, if we get a break, it's probably going to be around 645. But when it breaks that line, which isn't scientifically drawn by any means, right? But you're really just looking for it breaking that overall slight downtrend channel that we have right now on Meta. For me, it would be more about the break above the 662 would be the one that I'd be looking for. That'd be the better option to go long. Yep, continuation of the upside. And you could look back here. Obviously, we had this crazy sell-off from February 14th all the way down through these lows on April 21st. But now, all of a sudden, showing significant strength. If this little bullish flag formation holds, then yeah, that does signal much more upside potential. And here's, I don't believe that this works all the time, but it's nice to gauge where you think things may be headed, right? So let's go and take this measuring object, and let's say it breaks right around that 465 line. If it breaks right there, this gives you an idea of where that target may be. And that target would be, as it points out here, that target would be about $828 per share for Meta. I'm sure you'd all love to have a 180-point move in Meta. But that's just what the measuring object is forecasting. Will we get there? I wouldn't hang my hat on that one. For me, it's more important to focus on the shorter term moves here. If we do break above 663, I think that you're going to see all-time highs come back into play for Meta, right? And that all-time high for Meta goes back to the 14th of February, $740, which, we're talking $98 away from current levels. I'm sure you'd all enjoy that one. Projection target above and beyond the supply zone? Yes. If you're using a bullish flag formation, right? If you're using that bullish flag formation, that would be your target. But Rob, for me, if I'm looking at that chart pattern, it's nice that might hit that lofty target with the measuring object. That's not where I'm focusing at. I'm focusing on that all-time high. Right? Once we break this 662, I think that 740 will most likely be the logical target that I would be striving for. And if it gets to 740 and you're holding Meta and momentum is really strong still, well, then maybe you sell half your position, right? Lock in some profits and keep that second half if you think it's going to keep on running. Missed out on Microsoft? Don't worry about it, Steven. You don't need to worry about missing anything. There's always another opportunity. Always. Target one above, where to take profits fast. If you're talking about taking profits fast on this, well, there's not a lot of really good supply zones in here, right? If you break above that 662 mark, where's the most logical point? I don't see anything on the daily that would tell me that there's a big target there. So I would break this down into a smaller time frame. Let's go into an hourly. And all I want to do is, let me get after hours off of here. Sorry about that. Regular hours. All I want to do is look back and see if there's anything above these two green lines that looks interesting. And, is there anything here that really jumps off the page at me? Not really. I mean, not there. And again, this is very subject to each person's perspective and how they analyze information. I would be looking most likely right here, which is between 694 and 703. Call it the 700 mark, whole number psychology, right? That would be the next big stop for me. And of course, your zone up here at the top, which would be somewhere right around 736. So that's how I would create a little stair step up of price action. Let me move these over to current price so we can see those on the screen. And this one probably won't be able to grab because it's a tiny one, but there you go. All right, now we go back to our daily. And now I have actionable areas where I can start to map out my trades, right? You could probably buy Meta now and sell the 730s for good premium. Yeah. 730s, I don't think you get that much premium. I mean, you're talking a long ways away. It really depends on what time frame. So if you're talking, selling out a 90-day option, sure, you're going to get tons of premium. If you're selling a weekly option, you're not going to get squat. What does it go to? Would you go long with the directional call on Meta playing the bull flag? I wouldn't. For some reason, I'm not a big fan of Meta. And again, so I know we have some people here who are new to my show, so welcome. I see a lot of new names. Glad to have here. The rest of the audience knows my attitude towards different things. There's some stocks I shy away from. I'm not a fan of Meta, honestly, just as a company. I don't like it. So I find when I have biases like this, I try not to trade those things that I have like a emotional attachment to. So some of those, Apple is one that going back into the 2000s, early 2000s, literally 2000, I put it in my trading plan that I will never trade Apple again. It's page 3 of my trading plan. You guys, you're like, well, Merlin, that's 25 years ago. I don't care. It's a cornerstone of my discipline. Cisco is also on the do not trade list because of an emotional trade, and I don't like Meta. I love Amazon, so I'd be much more excited to buy Amazon, but Amazon doesn't have that same flag, right? If we try to draw that same picture we saw with Meta on Amazon, this is not really a flag. It's not as sharp as it should be. And granted, we could squeeze it like that to make it look a little bit better. And Oliver knows I don't touch drug stocks either. So biotechs, pharmaceuticals, not a fan of because I have been absolutely slaughtered on overnight gaps on a drug company that gets phase 3 FDA approval out of nowhere. And I mean, those things will blow your account. So I don't do that. My style is more day or swing. I like trades that last a couple days, couple weeks, maybe. In one of my accounts that I share with the audience here, I really two, but the main one is a 1% per month goal. The other one is a 1% per week goal, which is the one I've been sharing most of the trades with. And I can give you guys some trades updates on that account too. All right, let me run through the rest of these. I think we got them. Microsoft is just looking absolutely fantastic. Microsoft's going to be at those all-time highs here in no time. So there we go. Now let me get to, would you ever go long with the directional call? So yes, if I really felt strong about the markets overall, and I do feel strong for the next couple weeks, that I do think we're going to see more upside movement just because of what's been going on with Trump and the tariffs. So yes, I would be fine if you got above 662 or if it broke the channel. or don't short. Small cap pharma is good advice. Yeah, don't you should never short a biotech stock. I don't know. I just think you should stay away from them. I mean, if you want to make it as a trader for the rest of your life and have a skill set that is consistent, then you should all just delete biotech or pharma from your trade. Don't even look at them. I mean, if I go out here to the watch list and I do an unfiltered one, like let's just real quickly bring it up. Where's their? Dang it, I don't have their open default. Here we go. You know, if you go to their default, it's always garbage like this. Alpha N, I'm pretty sure that's a pharmaceutical. It's up 39,000% today. Rise on Oncology. Let's go to the biggest losers. These are, you're either going to make it or you're going to break it. Let's see. There's Energy Burgers. National Lampoon. Man, you got to buy National Lampoon. I'm kidding. Arch Therapeutics down 99%. This is all the time biotechs, pharmaceuticals. Just doesn't work for me. I stay away from that crap. Anyway, to each their own, but we have to figure out what our strategies are and we have to stick to it. I am a person who believes in longevity. Long past the point that I stopped working for, doing the different jobs that I do, I will probably have open positions until the day I die. And I'm hoping that whoever, has to do my estate checks all my accounts to make sure I don't have any open positions. I'll probably have more stop losses put in place. But yeah, I'm a believer you shouldn't take too many chances. You should keep things very controlled and unemotional, and that will keep you trading forever. Otherwise, you'll get emotional, you trade wild crap, and you lose it all. How do you get to the stock scanner on trading? Oh, so right over here on the right-hand side of your screen, this is TradingView. You have all these little icons. There's one that's a little bullseye. That's their screener. So they have a default one, which is this, and then I have one that I created, which is the biggest loser. Yeah, sure, let's save changes. Okay, so this is the biggest loser, and for some reason it's not updating, but typically I want something that's got a price that's above 15 bucks. Change percentage. I want this down below 10%. So more than things that drop more than 10% in the day. Unfortunately, this brings up a lot of little stuff, right? You can see PDD. Well, that's not too bad. Let's see if I can get this down here. All these little micro penny stocks, I don't care. That is way bad. I don't like any of this penny stuff. So I have to add in price. There's price, and I do a manual setup, and I just say price equal or above 15 bucks. So now I'm moving more out of the selection. Now, I guess I could probably find a way to filter this and take out the drugs and pharma, but I don't worry about that. The only other piece that I add to my filter is volume. So you guys can see here, this Vornado Realty Trust is down 35% today. It's traded 2 shares. Oh, here's a good one. Pennsylvania Warehouse. It's down 25%. It's traded 1 share. Like, come on. No way. No way. So I will go in here and I will add in one that says volume. So you just click the plus sign, type in VOL, and you'll see it says average volume. Typically, the default's the last 10 days. That's fine. And then once you add it, now I can go manually set it up and make whatever my volume filter is. Let's say I want 2 million shares traded average per day. There's 200,000, there's 2 million. So now it's going to weed out a lot of the stuff I don't care about and stuff that has a little bit more liquidity. You can see here, right now, out of the entire U.S. markets, there's only 4 companies that have an average of 2 million shares traded per day. Their price is over $15, and they're down more than 10%. I'm going to save myself hours of research just real quickly to do that. Now, you could move this over here and click on your ticker symbols to see what's been going on. CEP. It's funny because I actually did look at PDD today. I looked at PDD and I was like, oh, maybe I'll sell. I'll go over here. Maybe I'll sell the $90 strikes as it gets down towards that $90 demand zone and do it that way. But I was like, nah, too big of a risk. Too big of a risk I just want to take today. FinViz has a way better screener, but it's not linked into TradingView. Yeah, FinViz has a really good one. You can really filter for a lot of different information there. I have not gone overboard on the TradingView one because really this is a big part of my day, I will say, especially with the platform that I am the two accounts I share with you. One is like I said, 1% per month, but I've been much more aggressive on an account with you guys, which is that MicroStrategy I've been sharing, and SMCI and United Health Group that I'm in right now. All three of those I have open positions. That's in my portfolio that I'm striving for 1% per week. So it's much more aggressive. But this is where I find a lot of opportunities. If I didn't think that this company was as slimy as it is, DJT, this is Donald Trump's company, right? He's the biggest shareholder of DJT. Now, we could talk about switch over here to Bitcoin, but this guy, Trump, he made a couple interesting plays this weekend. First and foremost, he has doubled down, if you will, on his cryptocurrency and digital assets platforms. He's pushing them more. He was over in the Middle East trying to get cryptocurrency deals going. He has DJT. He also has World Liberty Financial, which created $2 billion worth of stablecoins out of thin air, and now that's being used as a broker deal between Saudi Arabia and another company, Binance as well. So Trump is no mystery to money. He's trying to get as much as he can, as quickly as he can for himself, and of course help America out in the process. But what DJT did today is they made an announcement that they are getting $2.5 billion worth of financing, and their plan for that financing is to buy Bitcoin. Now, you guys tell me, if DJT, which is a company started by other people, which would never have succeeded, and they went over and they said, hey, Trump, you put your name on this, you talk about it, you tweet here, we'll give you over half of all the value of the company. Trump's going to say, huge, let's do it. No one knows more about making money off of stocks than me. Let's do it. So now what do you guys think? Do you think that there's any slight bias right now on Trump being extremely pro-Bitcoin? Because if his company buys $2.5 billion worth of financed Bitcoin, and he goes out there and he tweets, America, we're going to have a strategic reserve of Bitcoin. We're going to sell our gold and buy Bitcoin. If he does that, DJT is going to skyrocket. So will MicroStrategy or Strategy or any other Bitcoin wholesaler, if you or what do they call them? Bitcoin, like a trust almost, right? To me, this could have a significant upside potential, but I was surprised to see the big sell-off today. It was down over 10%. Ultimately, if they get $2.5 billion in their account and they buy Bitcoin with it, it's going to start to look like MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy today, not doing so well. I still have MicroStrategy. You guys know I have covered calls at 380, which I sold on Friday, which I'm still fine with that. I'll sell those 380s. And I also have puts that I sold at 400, which expire in 3 weeks. So I'm okay with that as well. But I will tell you, my interest in MicroStrategy is starting to drop quickly. And this goes back to Sava's question. I hope you're still here, Sava. Sava asked about what's my thoughts on Michael Saylor not giving away his addresses. So Michael Saylor is at the Bitcoin conference, which starts today or tomorrow. Of course, he's going to be speaking all the time. And you guys have heard me say that if he just pointed to a wallet and said, this is the MicroStrategy wallet where we keep our 500 plus thousand Bitcoin. Here it is. I, for one, would be like, right on. I believe what you've been slanging on social media, which is you're buying so many thousands of Bitcoin over and over. You keep saying it over and over and over again. You started off small and now you've got hundreds of thousands. Okay, you and I, no offense, but nobody in here knows for certain if he actually has it. Not one. So to me, that's a little scary that I don't know why I was logged out of my X account. That's kind of weird. 1 second. Let me try to log in here real quick. I wanted to bring up his account and see if he's said that he's buying anything now. Because he's always posted he's buying X amount of Bitcoin. Let's see. When's the latest purchase? Oh, here you go. So the latest one was May 26th. Strategy acquired another 4,000 Bitcoin. They now have 580,000. If he pointed to an address and said, that's our wallet, I would probably buy a lot more MicroStrategy and really be aggressive on it. To me, the fact that he said on the microphone, someone asked him, said, why won't you show, at least some accountability, It's called proof of reserves. You say you have this, but no one knows. Just show the wallet address and everyone's going to go, yep, got it, no problem, you're legit. And he said it's a systemic risk to us. It's a big risk because now people know the wallet address and there's the opportunity for theft. This is coming from Michael Saylor, who is supposed to be the most orange-pilled person on the planet, right? He is all about Bitcoin. And the fact that he would say that an address that if you make it public is vulnerable is moronic. There's no way you're going to brute force an address. Yes, I saw the headlines about quantum computing potentially cracking Bitcoin here in the near future. That's not going to happen. They'll change the encryption algorithm. But when you think of the amount of money sitting on different crypto accounts, there's a lot of addresses that are public. I've shown this one to you guys before. These are the largest Bitcoin addresses. And do you think Binance or Robinhood or Bitfinex are worried about it? No one's going to hack this. So Les, apparently on his statement, he has to show when he gets audited that yes, here is the Bitcoin he has and it's over at Fidelity. Remember, Fidelity or Coinbase, wherever he keeps his cryptocurrency, a lot of it could be customer funds. So for example, let's say theoretically he has all 580,250 Bitcoin. Let's say he has that much sitting at Fidelity, okay? If it's sitting at Fidelity, on the books, Fidelity may only have 100,000 Bitcoin in their possession because it's fractional reserve lending. Now, who's auditing Fidelity to say that all the Bitcoin that's at their exchange is actually owned? Because what'll happen, like your bank account, if you were to audit my Chase Bank down the street, they'd say something like, oh, on our books, yeah, we have $8 million worth of customer deposits here. Okay, where is it? Oh, well, we don't have that. We have $100,000 on hand. That's the problem, right? I know, Margaret. I don't know if we're going to, but it every day I keep seeing this. It makes me more and more nervous because whoever he's keeping it at, wherever that is, because he won't give you the address, they are supposed to have all that Bitcoin. My heartfelt belief is that they do not. That the Bitcoin that's actually held at Fidelity or Coinbase, wherever he's holding it, is fractional reserve Bitcoin. And here, think about this. Let's say Michael Saylor is your only customer. He's the best customer on the planet because he said publicly, I will never sell my Bitcoin. So you never have to worry about him coming to Fidelity or Coinbase where he keeps it and saying, I want all my Bitcoin. He says, I'm never going to sell it. So you as the custodian, you can now lend this out to as many people as you want because he's not going to come claim it. Your normal deposits, banks want you to have a reserve requirement, meaning that your bank will have a reserve requirement mandated by the Federal Reserve to make sure that they have enough to handle some withdrawals, not all of it. And my fear is that that's what's happening more and more here. It seems like every time this goes on, I get more nervous about it. His average price is $69,000, call it $70,000 per Bitcoin. The big question is, if we drop below $70,000, what happens to Michael Saylor's strategy? Do we get mass liquidation? Is it forced margin selling? I don't know. All right, one sec. I triggered a big discussion. Let me go back up to the top here. Boy, you guys really typed in a lot. There should be laws to prevent all rich and powerful from manipulating. Unfortunately, will continue on all sides. For sure, Chad. I for one believe that no elected official should be allowed to make trades. I don't think, from the president on down, if you're somebody who's in charge of running this country and doing the best what's for America, you should have zero interest in buying companies or shorting, right? You have a competitive advantage, so they should be not allowed to trade, and certainly they should never be allowed to short at any time. That means they're betting against certain industries, and their rules will go against those industries. Like right now, I'm willing to bet you that if Trump could short, he would be shorting big oil. Why? Drill, baby, drill. And I'm going more towards, he would short, sorry, let me take that back. He would short clean energy, right? Because he's going to drill, baby, drill, and he's going to give all these extra perks to fossil fuel companies and crack down on green energy. So he'd be shorting green energy stocks, wind, and that type of stuff. So let's see. Trump is copying MicroStrategy. What DJT is essentially going to do will be similar to what MicroStrategy is doing, but with much smaller accounts, right? Only 2.5 billion. I think Saylor's got over $60 billion worth of Bitcoin at this point. 60 billion. Yes, you should tell us where to take it. Not to mention the fractional Bitcoin lending going. Yeah, we talked about that. It could be a series of wallets. Yes, Liz. So when he gets audited, he has to file quarterly reports, and he will say, I've got crypto at different locations. Now, I have not seen these quarterly statements that say where it is at. He just says, here's how much I own. Now, it would be interesting to see exactly where they're held. And yes, I'm sure, Liz, they are in different wallets. It's not going to be all in one location. They'll be spread around from a risk perspective. So yeah, there's no worry with that. As a publicly traded company, doesn't he have to show assets? Yep, he does. He just says that they're held here. So from Michael Saylor's perspective, he doesn't care. He says, oh, my assets are over there, and I have receipts to prove it. He can say, oh, look, I bought this much MicroStrategy or Bitcoin from Fidelity, and here's my account balance. So he could show that. Mick says, I expect all this info will come to light for earnings Q2. No, I don't think so. I think it's going to start to get more of a contentious issue between Michael Saylor and the media. It's like, hey, where are you keeping this? It's no longer like 1,000 Bitcoin. We're talking a colossal amount of Bitcoin. I don't think it'll all come to light, but I think over the next 6 months, a year, you're going to see a lot more people like me really around to rattle that cage. And I've been asking about this for a long time. Is you just bought 4,000 Bitcoin. Yeah, and people keep saying, well, it's from the over-the-counter market. Okay, yeah, you can say that because that's what Google and ChatGPT will tell you. But this is a different ball game. This is Bitcoin. There's only so much of it out there in circulation. Therefore, when you buy this much, price should surge. And I think I've shown you this before. If you go to Coinbase and you buy on the retail platform, I think I showed you guys this on Friday. But right now, if I bought, right here, he bought over 4,000. If I bought 3,675 Bitcoin right now in the click of a button, I'm moving the price of Bitcoin up 74% to $190,000 per Bitcoin. So it's clearly coming from somewhere. My guess is fractional reserve lending. All right. Is Trump trying to replicate Nancy Pelosi's behavior? No. He's well above that. Nancy Pelosi in the past may have done favorable things for different companies where she had insight into where they were going. She was the famous story is her getting in on the early IPO of Visa, and conveniently that was right after she was the deciding vote for credit card reform. Said, no, we don't need it. Yeah, we do. We absolutely need credit card reform. Absolutely. Would nuclear energy consider as green? It's a great question, Andy. I think from Trump's perspective, that would be in the fossil fuels category, even though it's not. Well, it's uranium. Because he's definitely, I think, on the nuclear power camp. And I think he's going to do more with nuclear power. So I would put that in. Trump would be pro-nuclear power. Is Michael Saylor another FTX? No, they're very different, right? FTX was an exchange that basically lied about what their customers were doing and what they were doing with their customer funds, and they broke a lot of fiduciary obligations. Michael Saylor, for all intents and purposes, is doing something very simple, right? He's borrowing money, taking whatever he borrows, and he's buying Bitcoin, which is a finite resource, and in doing so, should ultimately drive the price up. The only question is when he custodies this, where is it at? And from what I've read and been told, it's Coinbase and Fidelity are his two main sites where he keeps it. Well, that means it's not his crypto, is it? That means it's Coinbase's and Fidelity's crypto. So there's a lot of unknowns there, and either I'm not smart enough or I just can't find the details to exactly what his transactions are. I would love to know it. All right, let's see. Nancy's a better trader than BlackRock. Yeah, she's got a pretty damn good track record. They want to add to the S&P. He will need to show a profit. Oh, he's got it. He's got the profit. I mean, he's got the profit. If his average price is $69,000 per Bitcoin, and here we are sitting at $109,000, he's got the profit. It's paper profit, but remember, he says he's never going to sell it. So I had this Trump plays here because Trump's DJT is an interesting one. That should be a facilitator for the price of Bitcoin moving higher. And then what I would anticipate, here's what I anticipate. Once this liquidity comes through to DJT and they get their $2.5 billion worth of funding and they buy $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, then I expect Donald Trump to make some really big announcement with regards to Bitcoin. And I do believe that he is going to say he's going to push Senator Loomis's Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Plan through. And that Bitcoin Strategic Reserve says, let's sell gold. Let's sell some of our gold to buy Bitcoin. And that would be a win-win for Trump because DJT would soar, and his other company, World Liberty Financial, also holds Bitcoin as well. So, self-serving to have this Bitcoin Strategic Reserve push through. So just something, Big M. As much as I'm like, this is shady, shady crap, I'm like, let's do it, right? Because I've got a big position in Bitcoin. So, Margaret, what's his target price? He doesn't have one. Michael Saylor has already said that I think by 2040 or something, he thinks Bitcoin will be $13 million per coin. I can tell you, I'd be pretty happy if that happened. I don't believe it's going to get to $13 million per coin. Even if it becomes the currency that everybody in the world uses, probably not going to happen. Now, speaking of currency, you guys might know Square. They changed their damn name. What did Square change their name to? Oh, come on. Maybe I remember that one. Square changed their name. It's Jack Dorsey's company. Block. Let's go here. XYZ. Right? Yeah. Block. Yeah. Thank you. So Jack Dorsey is now saying that you can use your Square. So these little, it's that little payment thing a lot of businesses are using. They use his service for payments, and like little street vendors and things can now, you swipe your credit card and they got the little machine. It's designed for that. Now, this goes back to my idea. Remember, I like that, Mick. A block is a 3D square. Nice. Okay, I'll take that one. My idea was buy an exchange. So you buy an exchange like Poloniex or Kraken, buy Gemini, right? Buy Gemini for whatever, a couple $1 billion. Hello, Vanar. And what you do is you now have your own liquidity pools. You've got your own exchange. Of course, you have customers, so they can treat it like a normal exchange. But what you now do is you open up a payment service that says, if you swipe this card or use this code, you can now pay anybody with anything. So, for example, let's say that Mick is, a vendor and he's selling collectible baseball cards at a farmer's market, and he's got the little Square pad, and I say, "Can I pay you with Bitcoin?" Mick now brings the little Square device or block device. I scan my Bitcoin QR code to it, and I send him Bitcoin. And Mick, on the other hand, can say, "I want dollars, yen. I want it in Shiba Inu or Ethereum or Bitcoin. You can take it whatever you want, and for that, I charge a fee for that transaction." This is what Block is now doing with Bitcoin. They now accept Bitcoin for payment on that device, and you can get it delivered in Bitcoin or in cash if you want. Not every crypto, but just Bitcoin for now. In the future, it'll probably be everything. You pay with whatever you want, receive with whatever you want. It's a perfect dream for a customer and a perfect dream for the merchant, and the facilitator gets a small chunk of the action, which is much less than what Visa or MasterCard would be getting. Right? Visa, MasterCard, you're looking at 3%. What if I can do that same transaction for 1/4%? Right? To me, that's the $1 trillion idea. Because now you create a universal wallet. It would work in any economy, any market in the world. You could go to Europe right now and say, I'm going to pay with this Bitcoin or Ethereum or Cardano. Or I could go to some remote island in the South Pacific. I could go to Koh Phi Phi Island in Thailand and scan my card, and they can get it in Thai baht or euro or yen, whatever they want. Pretty cool. Can I pay with Haktua? If there's a liquidity market for it, yes. The challenge would be, JD, that Haktua doesn't have a lot of liquidity. So the spreads would be really wide, so you probably wouldn't get great pricing. But if it's a very liquid pool, you should do really, really good. Let's see. How is that one doing? Haktua. Let's see what's happening. Oh, yeah, right where it should be. Going to zero. It's actually had a pretty significant run over this month of April. 170% rally, but I mean, come on, we all know this is going to go to zero, just like Melania coin, MELANIA. Here's your Melania. I mean, come on, that thing's going to zero. It's pretty obvious. Just slow, womp, 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 womp. Yeah, no, it's really a coin. Yeah, she got in trouble for it, right? She got in trouble for promoting this coin, and it was a rug pull. And, you'll see this happen over and over again, guys, is a rug pull is where only the people that created it push it up. And then as soon as they create all this hype and frenzy about it, they just dump it. They just dump it. Margaret says, which exchange has the most crypto volume? Are you talking globally or US? If it's globally, I'm pretty sure it's Binance.com. I think Binance is still the leader in total crypto volume. If it's US, it's Coinbase. Coinbase right now is the biggest leader. And one way you can find that out, I'll show you guys this here real quick. How am I doing on time? Oh my goodness. If you go to CoinMarketCap, right here is their CoinMarketCap. Go to the most liquid one, which is Bitcoin. And you click on Bitcoin. And when you're there, you can click on markets. And this will tell you, you have all exchanges. There's centralized exchanges or decentralized. We're just going to go centralized exchanges. And you can see here it says Binance. Yeah, that's Binance.com. In the last 24 hours, Binance.com has done, just with Tether alone, $2.2 billion worth of transactions. They've done $2.2 billion with another stablecoin here. Bybit did $1.3 billion. Coinbase, $945 million. Now, let's go to other exchanges in the U.S. All right, what's another one? Well, Crypto.com, that's actually really impressive. $953 million. Kraken, only $100 million. So I'm a big fan of Kraken, but they're only $100 million in last 24 hours. That's not a lot. You look at other U.S. ones. How about, there's Binance.us, $5 million. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket compared to these other exchanges. Even Gemini did $74 million in the last 24 hours. So, yeah, Coinbase is the most liquid in the United States, and we'll see what happens going forward. But when Kraken goes public, I think that could bring in a lot more volume to Kraken, which is great because I actually like Kraken better than Coinbase. Yeah, definitely a fan. Bitcoin might be like the Big Short movie all over again. Trail them. It's definitely going to be one of those things, Chad, that I'm keeping an eye on. Because obviously I have big exposure to it right now because I do believe in Bitcoin, but I am concerned about the fractional reserve lending, which we've talked about many times here. It does have me a little bit nervous, especially if there's a run on it or he hits a margin call. If it gets too low and Michael Saylor has a margin call, that could cascade these markets down. Crypto. Because that means that Fidelity is going to have to go, oh, where do we get the Bitcoin from to cover the margin call? They don't have it. So we will see. We'll see. Steven, I've been saying that for a while. In crypto, that could definitely be the next black swan. It wouldn't impact, equity markets would get hit, but they'll go down a little bit, but the crypto world could implode if MicroStrategy has a bad day. Yep. Well, DJT is down 10% today because people just don't like the direction that they're going. I thought that was interesting. I think actually DJT will probably bounce back up from this, but I'm not a buyer of DJT. You guys know my feelings on DJT. So they also are doing some Bitcoin ETFs. So Trump Media is issuing, I think, 4 or 5 new ETFs. One's going to be all U.S. focused. One's about crypto and digital assets. So I can definitely see them patting themselves on the back, if you will, by making favorable regulation to benefit them. So I hate to say it, I do think over the long haul, you'll probably start to see DJT start to move up. Let's go to your economic calendars and stuff. For today, we had durable goods orders, which really were terrible. They were supposed to go from 7.5%. Remember, people rushing to buy all these big items from China, etc., before the tariffs hit. Well, they already bought what they needed. There's no need for them to buy now. We dropped 6.3%. So we have these really big swings that have happened. But let's be fair. That's happened multiple times here. Back in July of last year, it happens somewhat frequently. But it's not good to see a 6.3% decline in durable goods. Also, home prices. S&P Case-Shiller Composite 20, home prices are dropping. That's not a good sign either, right? We were expecting it to be 4.5%, came out at 4.1%. Not so good. I mean, as homeowners, we all want to see this start to move to the upside. Now, the bond market today, we didn't look at the bond market, but let's just real quickly take a peek at that. Your 10-year yield had a bit of a drop today, but we still are in this uptrend going back to, let's say, April 4th or 5th. So still looking good, but a nice sell-off there today for your bond yields. As far as tomorrow goes from an economic perspective, here is the mañana. For the U.S., we just have FOMC meeting minutes. And again, this is a widely watched one because it really gives some ideas as to what the other voting members were thinking when they made their rate announcement. And this is beyond me. I don't read the FOMC meeting minutes. I just look for the Cliff Note versions that are always posted, and they'll say, oh, so-and-so said this, so-and-so said that, but that's it. Now, the real big story tomorrow will not be this stuff. It's not the macro. It's going to be NVIDIA reporting earnings after market close. So that's you got to be extremely careful with. We know that that's going to be a popcorn trade of the day, as I got my little graphic here. There are other companies reporting tomorrow, but really nothing comes close to the importance of NVIDIA. Here's the list for tomorrow. You've got NVIDIA after market close. Same thing with Salesforce. You'll have Macy's before market opens, Abercrombie & Fitch, Dick's Sporting Goods. So there are some, but really nothing. It all pales in comparison to NVIDIA. And if you look at NVIDIA's price chart today, it's looking pretty darn good. We're up 3.21%. May create a pretty big buying opportunity or selling opportunity, depending on how it moves on Thursday morning. All right, we'll get this announcement on market close tomorrow. We'll definitely talk about that one as it pans out. So, all right, that's it. I think I got what I wanted to cover. We talked about tariffs, talked about Trump. There we go. So over the next 6 months, for those Trading Academy graduates who asked me, appreciate it. I love the questions. I'm bullish based off of us continuing with the same thing, which is shock, awe, rally. Shock, awe, rally. And I think that'll be a stair step up, probably finding ourselves at all-time highs here soon. And again, that's a change of market sentiment, because you guys might remember, I'm sure you all are going to tell me, that my forecast was for markets to drift lower. And I had this chart drawn out here where I thought we would just slowly drift lower the longer this trade war lingers and goes on. We're not out of the woods yet, but at least we're getting conversations with China, we're getting conversations with Europe, and once that's resolved, then I think we will see more upside movement. If not, if we don't get resolution, if by July 9th, the gauntlets come off again and we start throwing down, then there is a propensity for us to move lower. But it seems to me like these things are going to get settled. We'll come up with a number that we're all happy with, and we'll move forward. So there we go. All right, everybody, that's it for me. Tomorrow we'll have, just NVIDIA. Same shtick on this program, according to my grok analysis. Repetitive information, but at least market analysis. If there's something that you want to talk about, email me, tradermerlin@gmail.com, or put it down below any of the YouTube videos, and I will be putting those into the slides and going over those tomorrow. So NVIDIA's after market close tomorrow, Margaret. NVIDIA's always after. It's NASDAQ, so typically a NASDAQ stock is after market close. New York is typically before market open. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic remainder evening. I will see you tomorrow.